What's happening? What's good? What's going on? Part of my presence YouTube channel. I want to talk about the OceanGate submarine that went missing off the coast of Newfoundland when they're trying to do an expedition, I guess, to see the Titanic that is on the ocean floorbed. So this expedition is not for the faint of heart. It requires a descent of 4,000 meters underwater in order to get to the ocean floorboard where you could see the famous Titanic shipwreck. Now, this is something that takes quite a while because it takes about 4 hours one way just to make it down there, and another 4 hours to make its way back up. So you really have to have some patience in order to do this, but not only patience, you also need a large wallet because apparently it is the cost of $250,000 to become a crew member on this expedition. Now, there's only about 5 members on board, so that's a lot of money to be spent. So when you hear that price tag, you realize that, wow, this must be some rich people that are involved in this, and you would not be wrong because it was a 5-man crew, and each one of them seemed to have been millionaires or billionaires. So I'm just going to read the list of people here who were on this particular vessel. Again, it wasn't a submarine, it was a submersible vessel. And now that's going to cause some problems later on in this story, but let's just hear the names. So the first person was a billionaire explorer by the name of Hamish Harding. Then there's also a Pakistani businessman by the name of Shahzada Dawood, and he brought along his son Suleiman Dawood. And apparently another person was aboard the ship, and that is none other than the CEO of OceanGate Expeditions, Stockton Rush. Now, you remember when I said that it takes about 4 hours to travel that far deep into the ocean, the 4,000 meters of the descent? Well, apparently the submersible vessel, because not a submarine, it was a vessel, it stopped communicating with the mothership around 105 meters into the trip. So that's just a little bit under 2 hours of time. Now, here's the thing. It's been missing since Monday, and ever since it was mentioned in the news, there's been a search and rescue team going on trying to locate this particular submersible vessel, and they couldn't find it. And they were searching and searching, and they put out a stat saying that the inner cabin could only hold 96 hours of oxygen, meaning that they didn't have much time to figure out where these guys are and to rescue them. And then as the story unfolded, they pretty much let it be known how tricky this was, and really the odds of survival aren't really that good when you look at all of the complications that could arise, especially with the fact that you're going down that deep. And again, like I said, the water pressure and the fact that if there were issues with the integrity of the vessel, it could lead to the vessel imploding, or it could lead to other issues where they're not able to recover the vessel and they're going to perish underwater and become another tourist attraction just like the Titanic. So yesterday, apparently they found some debris that belonged to the inner hull of this particular submersible vessel, which pretty much confirms their fears that the vessel imploded, crushing the occupants inside. And now that is a result of the fact that being that far deep into the abyss, the water pressure, if there's an issue with the integrity of the hull or the integrity of the vessel, and there's any weakness, it's going to pretty much collapse onto itself and crush the people inside. And that's what happened. Now, there was some imagery of a particular train imploding, and it looked scary, and they're pretty much saying that it'll be a lot faster at the depths that they were in underwater. So they're pretty much saying that death was instantaneous, so no one died a painful death. But at the same time, that must be crazy for you to think you're about to see one of the greatest mysteries, one of the greatest events of mankind, the Titanic, and you're about to witness this, right? It's been folklore for how long? Everybody talks about it. Everybody saw the movie. Everybody listened to Celine Dion and the song. So everybody knows the Titanic. And paying that amount of money, $250,000, you really thought you were going to get your money's worth. And you thought you were going to have a lot of bragging rights and stories to tell all of your colleagues and friends. But unfortunately, that's not the case here, because these guys are never going to be able to tell a story again. Matter of fact, they've become the story now, because all of these guys are going to be known as the 5 members who lost their lives trying to look at a shipwreck, and they end up becoming a shipwreck of themselves. Now, what makes this even more interesting is that, of course, whenever there's a scandal, people start snooping into the businesses and the workings and the figures involved. And it came out that this particular CEO, Stockton Rush, there's been many complaints in regards to his business practices and the fact that he's been known to cut corners when it comes to the construction of this particular submersible vessel, and how many people have complained about the fact that the quality assurance is not up to par. And when they confronted him about certain things that he could have done to make the hull stronger, to make the vessel be able to withstand more pressure than what is required for this particular trip, he did not want to spend the money. He cut corners. And there's even an audio clip of him explaining that he didn't want to have old white men he didn't want to hire old white men, and he wanted to be more inspirational. He wanted to hire other people that could kind of inspire others to be involved in this type of trek, which to me is all bullshit. A lot of times people say things because it sounds great. It sounds like you're one of those evolved businessmen and you want to get a certain positive image of your business. But really, when I hear someone saying that they don't want to hire older white men, older white men with lots of experience is really what they were saying. When I look at that, because they wanted to get someone who was younger, who they could train, I look at that and I say, it has nothing to do with the race. Take the race out of it, right? Because I know a lot of white men were complaining because white men are now the new victim group, but that's beside the fact. The issue here was that they didn't want an older person, because an older person has more years of experience. They would also demand a higher pay. They would also be one that's less inclined to take advice or not follow the rules or cut corners, right? They would be more skilled and you wouldn't be able to boss them around and pretty much tell them what to do. So in those cases, you don't want someone who's a senior person who has experience. But also, you don't want that type of person, because when you have experience, you demand a higher salary. And this seems to be the thing that a lot of companies are doing now. They want to claim to be woke. They want to claim to be social activists, but they're really doing that as a front to pay people less, because now you're dealing with lesser experienced younger people who may not have the qualifications or the capabilities or just the experience of someone who has been doing a job for a lot of years. It doesn't have to be a white person. It doesn't have to be a male. It could be a woman who's been doing a job for many years. You wouldn't want to hire as well too. You'd want to hire someone who's in their 20s who you could pay half the price. And this is how you maintain a business, by cutting corners on what's considered to be the biggest expense of a company, which is the payroll. And we kind of see here where that leads companies when they start to cut corners in quality. They start to cut corners in the lack of proper personnel and experienced workers. And unfortunately, it cost 5 people, including the CEO's life. And this is really the story that I take away from this, is that what could have been a warning to say, you know what, maybe we should put more money into the construction of this vessel to make it more secure, to make sure that we enforce the inner hull, that we enforce the outer portion of it, that we make it maybe a little bit larger, make it so that we're not working and operating off of flipping PlayStation 2 joystick. So there's so many different things that they could have done spent the money, because again, it's $250,000 a person. So you already know you're making quite a lot of coin, right? That's $1 million a pop, a trip. So I don't see how you couldn't have put in the money to make sure that this vessel is safe and secure and runs. And apparently there was some issue with the last trip. So it's not even clear if they even made the adjustments and the repairs to make sure that the next go around, this vessel would be able to withstand the pressure. Apparently they did not make the proper repairs and adjustments, and this vessel imploded and collapsed onto itself, and 5 people lost their lives. So again, this is in my opinion, a story that is a lesson for companies that like to cut corners, like to pay people less money, don't care about the quality of things, just care about the profit and the bottom line. It's about time that corporations and companies learn to value life, to value the fact that consequences are a real thing. The only thing I can't respect is the fact that the CEO went down himself and he died with his ship. So I'll give him some props because he pretty much put his mouth, or put his money where his mouth was, and he lost his life as a result of that. So I'll give him props for the fact that he really felt that confident in what he created, not realizing that his own shortcomings was going to come back, or his own greed rather, was going to come back and haunt him, right? But you let me know how you feel about this story. I would never go down that far into the ocean to look at some type of Titanic ship, even if I had all the money in the world. That's not something that I would want to do. That's not something that would interest me. No way, no how. You let me know how you feel about this story. Is this something that you look as a cautionary tale, or do you look at this as fodder for the news stories, and you really don't care or give a damn about any of these things? So let me know how you feel. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, next move, best move. Unfortunately, Stockton Rush has no more moves, and now there's the rest of the other 4 people on that vessel. Next move, best move, part of my present YouTube channel. Peace.